Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
8:06 now. It's the big 8 o'clock hour. We love that. It's time for a little Stevie Wonder and to get you juiced up and ready to take on the day with Chris Plant Show coming up 60 minutes from now. But first, Julie Gunlock and I, we have some more dragons to slay, don't we, Julie?
Sure do. Good morning.
Coming up in 30 minutes, Congressman Brandon Gill will join us. Talk about that rescissions package. But first, we bring in KT McFarland. KT, always good to speak with you, former Deputy National Security Advisor for President Donald Trump and foreign policy maven extraordinaire. Good morning, KT.
Good morning.
Do you like Coke or Diet Coke? Which is your favorite?
Ooh, I'm a Coke Zero person.
You do Coke Zero? That's like Meredith. She likes the Coke Zero. I do the Diet Coke. I'm like President. That's why it was funny to see President Trump getting all excited about the pure cane sugar and the Mexican Coke, they call it, because he doesn't even drink it. He drinks Diet Coke. Famously drinks Diet Coke.
But, it's so, but can I just tell you one of the first times I was in the Oval Office, I was with the Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, and President Trump's behind the, Resolute desk, the infamous, famous Resolute desk, and President Trump buzzes his buzzer, and the valet comes out, and didn't even have to be asked, and he brings President Trump a great big glass of Diet Coke with a lot of ice in it. And so President Trump puts it right down on the desk. And I'm thinking, this is the Resolute desk.
Coaster!
A ring. This is going to be, what am I getting? Can I say this? And I'm worried about it. And I'm thinking, like 100 years from now, somebody's going to point to that and say, that's President Trump's ring from his Diet Coke. And so then he looks at me, and ever the gentleman, he said, oh, would you like a Diet Coke too?
Oh.
So Tillerson and I we just nod, yes, of course, sir. And so the valet brings 2 more Diet Cokes in glasses with ice, and he hands them to us. Again, no napkin, no coaster. Oh. And I'm looking and thinking, oh, no. Oh, my God, now there are going to be three rings on the Resolute desk for 100 years. So I look at Tillerson, and I'm thinking. So I'm sitting there thinking this is like the end of the his American history.
Right, you can't focus on foreign relations anymore.
No, I'm not talking about the chemical weapons being used in Syria. And then I look at the rug thinking, I'll put my Diet Coke in the rug. And I say, oh no, I'm going to spill it. I'm going to forget it's there. And then I'm going to have Diet Coke all over the historic rug. And I can't hold it because I'm trying to take notes at the same time. So then I look over at Tillerson, who had like one of those pocket napkins that men have in suit pockets.
Ugh.
And he pulls out the pocket napkin, and he puts it on the Resolute desk, and we both, side by side, put our little Diet Cokes there. So we solved the problem. But I've got to wonder, what is happening now in the Oval Office? Are people like pulling out napkins or coasters? I know Donald Trump's ring is going to be there for all posterity, but I sure hope they're not another 5 or 6 little rings.
No, I think Susie Wiles has that energy. I think she's following the person around with coasters all the time there, amongst all the things that she's accomplishing. Katie, you mentioned Syria, and so that's an effortless segue into Israel's launch yesterday, heavy strikes in Damascus, right there in the capital of Syria. What is this all about? Can you unpack this for us?
Okay, so Syria has been beset by civil war and warring factions for, 20 years? And it's gotten even worse since the new government has taken over. But we think of governments as sort of there's an army, there's a president, not in Syria. In Syria, there are tribes, and each tribe has its own set of weapons. Each tribe has probably its own subgroups within the tribes. And there are a lot of ethnically different tribes. There's the Druze, it's a minority. There are some Christians in Syria. There are various varieties of Muslims, of various extremist levels, and then there's a government that is struggling to try to take control. Now, when President Trump, when he went to the Middle East, he was unlikely and unwilling to recognize the new self-proclaimed leader of Syria, until the other Arab leaders, Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia and others, said, look, take a chance on this guy. We know that he has terrorist Al-Qaeda connections, ISIS connections, but he wants to take the country in a different direction. So President Trump said, unexpectedly, he said, okay, I'm going to give the guy a chance. I'm going to drop the American sanctions. We'll let Syria have its opportunity to achieve greatness. And what you're seeing now is all of that playing out. where the government of Syria isn't really in control of a lot of its military factions. But Israel, right next door, has its own interest, which is to protect the Golan Heights, which is the very high area between all these flat places. Whoever controls the Golan Heights controls the region because you fire down on everybody.
Right.
And this goes back to
That's
biblical
a threat
times.
to Israel.
So that's a threat to Israel. And so that Golan Heights has changed hands every time there's a war in the Middle East for 2,000 years. So what Israel is doing is is protecting the Druze minority, but it's really protecting the Golan Heights,
Right.
which is in the middle of all these different factions fighting.
Real fast, can you give us a thumbnail on who the Druze are?
Yeah, the Druze are yet another minority group in Syria, and we would not think of them as a different group to others, but they've always been sort of they're throughout the Middle East, but they're primarily in Syria, Muslim group, and they're
that's what I was getting at.
They're
They're a Muslim group, but they've got of a somewhat different ethnicity. So why is Israel concerned? I mean, no offense, but I mean, why has Israel decided the Druze must be protected?
I think it's because of the Golan Heights. Druze is one of the major religious groups throughout the region. I mean, maybe there are 1 million of them scattered around the different countries. And the Druze religion is Abrahamic, so they believe in Abraham. They're monotheistic, but they're not really Muslim, but they're not Christian. They just sort of have their own version of religion. I don't know what you would compare them to in the West. But they're more closely aligned with the Christians than they are with the other Muslim groups.
I see.
So,
okay.
I mean, they all hate each other, and they've hated each other for 1,000 years. And the tribes have been fighting, so it almost doesn't matter what they believe in. It's just that they're tribes, and they're family tribes, and they're a family tribe. I mean, go back to the Old Testament. It's really, Abraham had a lot of sons, and he had a lot of descendants. And so then there was another tribe that also had sons and a lot of descendants, and they're still fighting each other.
I want to switch over, KT, to Russia. Putin has rejected the demand for a ceasefire. What's next? What's next with Putin with this whole mess over there?
Yeah, this is why Trump is just so fascinating. He's a real estate guy. He's a business guy. So what he wants to do is he wants to have this done. He wants to check off the list. Yeah. Like he wanted to check off the Middle East. He wants to check off Ukraine because the real issue he knows is China. So how is he going to deal with Ukraine? He knows he wants to end the Ukraine war. He just doesn't know how he's going to do it. So plan A was to get to sort of cajole them and charm them both into going to the negotiating table. Didn't work. Plan B was to get Ukraine to the negotiating table. That's now worked. Been messy, but it's worked. And now Putin is the one holding out. So what's Trump doing? Instead of being nice to Putin, thinking I'm going to cajole and charm you into the negotiating table, that didn't work. So he's going to bully him into the negotiating table. And he's going to do what we had created, which is this maximum pressure. Military pressure by arming the Ukraine, and economic pressure by potentially imposing secondary sanctions. And that means any country that buys Russian oil doesn't get to do business with the United States. The main purchasers of Russian oil are China, which we knew about, but also India. And so to me, the fascinating squeeze art of the deal play would be to go to the Indian government and say, look, America has a lot of extra oil and natural gas. Why don't you buy from us, or at least stop buying from the Russians? We'll produce more, because the squeeze play is to destroy the Russian economy, right? If Russia can't sell oil to anybody, then Russia has no money, can't fight a war. So again, this is Donald Trump. He knows he wants to end the Ukraine war. He just doesn't know how to do it yet. And he's going to try plan A, plan B, plan C. He'll get there eventually. But unlike any other politician who has sort of an ideological approach of, oh, well, Ukraine has to win. Oh, Russia has to lose.
Right.
He just wants it over. And how is he going to get it done? The other approach, just they have negotiations, nothing ever happens.
KT, always informative and always educational, but sadly, no one will remember anything about our conversation this morning except for your story about the rings on the Resolute desk from your coaster.
Look, that's the one that's going to last for 200 years.
That's right.
That's the 200-year story, not the fact that they're all fighting each other.
There you go.
It's 8:15.